Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on the 1 hour time frame for Bitcoin, because since my last video, we almost perfectly hit our price target here. Of course, we had this bear flag pattern that broke out to the downside. We got a breakout, retest, resumption type structure, basically hitting the price target here around 100K in the Bitcoin price. And from there, we saw a strong bounce to the upside. And interestingly, if we now take this full pattern all the way from the start of this bear flag down to the actual price target being hit, notice how we are right now testing this critical Fibonacci golden pocket sitting between 105.6K and 105.9K. So potentially could face some resistance here soon. In the case that we break through, though, the next area of Fibonacci resistance is sitting at 107K in the Bitcoin price. There is a level of resistance in between here, though. I will cover that in this video, of course, but this is the next Fibonacci level of resistance. Either way, now moving on to the 4 hour time frame. Recently, we were just trading inside this descending channel pattern. And like I said in the Discord community as well, guys, this pattern has been very, very good to us. This was a very predictable pattern to trade. So yeah, we got some beautiful short-term leverage trades out of this. And especially this most recent move where we got this strong bounce off of this level of support all the way from back here from these previous lows. Myself and a bunch of people in the community got some beautiful longs out of here. So yeah, this was a very, very nice pattern to trade, but we have now broken out of here at this point. Something that we should keep in mind, though, is that currently it is Saturday, about to be Sunday as I'm recording this video. So technically we are trading inside a weekend here, and therefore we should be more open to the possibility of fake outs right now in the charts. Of course, the institutional investors are not trading on the weekends. It is mostly the retail traders that are pushing up the price right now. And therefore, we should be open to the possibility of, for example, on Monday when the markets open again, to see some kind of rejection, for example, on this daily time frame from this big level of resistance, because we do not know how the institutional traders and investors are actually going to respond to these two big candles right here. Either way, this big level of resistance is sitting from 105K all the way up to 107,000 in the Bitcoin price. And this descending trend line is currently sitting at about 107.8K. Of course, keep in mind that this does trend down over time. Overall, though, we saw a beautiful bounce from this big level of support, setting from 103K all the way down to 101.5K, where we did in fact see that beautiful bounce right there. Something else that I wanted to cover in this video is this rising wedge pattern that we saw on the 1 day time frame. But something I was thinking about here recently is, well, what if the pattern is just slightly different here, and we in fact take a different measure from this smaller version of the price target? Well, in that case, we have already hit the price target here, because in that case, the price target would also be 100K in the Bitcoin price, similar to that 1 hour time frame that I showed you earlier. Therefore, most of the bearish patterns and things that I was looking at have now pretty much either been completed or are potentially about to be invalidated. And I mean, I'm saying invalidated like a bunch of things have actually invalidated, which is not the case. Everything that we have looked at over the last couple of days and even over a week here as we entered this short-term downtrend has played out exactly as expected so far. We saw a break of this massive ascending trend line. After that, we got a continuation to the downside and we hit a bunch of price targets here. So all of that is in line with expectation. The only thing that has not played ball for us here is this imbalance in the charts. I did think that this was likely going to be a target for this move to the downside. However, this of course has not been hit in this first move down. So therefore I have to see how price is going to react around this 106.5K level once again. You can see the first time we got a rejection. This was in line with expectations. But right now we are getting close to that 106.5K level once again. And therefore now I have to see if we get a candle close above here in the next 28 hours for Bitcoin. So make sure to stay tuned in the channel because, of course, tomorrow I'm going to upload a new video once again where we will assess what is actually happening around this point of invalidation. If we were to now invalidate this, honestly, I would not be upset with that. We got a bunch of beautiful trades on the lower time frames. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this move to the downside so far. And like I said, if we now invalidate this, I would likely be looking for the next move to the upside. Something, again, that we could pay attention to is this descending trend line for Bitcoin, where if we break above this, potentially with some kind of breakout, retest, resumption, yeah, from there, after we get some kind of retest, for example, we could be looking for that next big move to the upside, where, yeah, we might get some short-term resistance around these all-time highs and likely some resistance around this 116K level as well. All of that is still very, very early because, like I said, I first need to see an invalidation on this 3-day time frame. Moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 2-week time frame, notice how right now we have a bunch of liquidity to the upside and very, very little liquidity to the downside because most of that has been taken out in this last wave to the downside here. So most of the liquidity is sitting at 106.8K, 107.7K, and there is even some liquidity as high as 111K in the Bitcoin price. And in the case that you are not familiar with this chart, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity on this chart, so where there are the most yellow areas here. And right now, most of the liquidity on this time frame at least is sitting to the upside. Again, we have the same liquidity as we had on the 2-week time frame as well. And lastly, taking a look at the 1-year time frame for Bitcoin, notice how right now, yes, we have a bunch of liquidity to the upside, again around those same levels. The biggest liquidity that is close to the current price is sitting at around 107K in the Bitcoin price. And of course, there's massive liquidity around these all-time highs. In terms of downside liquidity on this highest time frame, we still have some big liquidity around this 100K level, even 98K, and even 93.3K as well. Now, like I said in last video as well, guys, this 93K level was a bit far-fetched at the time. So unless we were getting a breakdown below 98K, this 93K level, even with us having big liquidity here, was not my first priority in terms of price targets. Something interesting that we could be looking at soon is if we get that invalidation where, again, we close that 3-day candle above 106.5K, then of course this 93K level is just completely off the table as far as I'm concerned. But this could become a very interesting area long-term for Bitcoin because let's say that we get another big move to the upside and from there we start heading into some kind of bear market. Of course, I cannot know what the bull market price target is going to be, but let's say that we head into some kind of bear market, then this could be a very interesting area to actually short all the way down to, because by then there will be so much liquidity here long term that this will very, very likely become a target. But that is all the long game for Bitcoin. So for now, we are not going to worry about that just yet. Lastly, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin ETF flow tables for today. Yesterday, we saw a small net outflow. Overall, the Bitcoin ETFs have been slightly bearish, but mostly just been flip-flopping here. Not too much really going on here. So, of course, tomorrow I will come back with another analysis. And on Monday, Tuesday, we're going to look at these Bitcoin ETF flow tables once again. Either way, make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you do not miss any of these important update videos. But regardless, if you do end up subscribing or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.